Bible Lab. Okay. Shalom, Israel. Hope everybody is doing Tawab today. Shout out Calvinist congregation in Guatemala. The brothers and sisters who listen and support from Cali to Georgia. Hope everybody's doing well. Also, shout out SOW family, Zakia in Virginia, SOW Houston, Quatazop, and SOW Rochester, New York, Zion Allah. We'll be seeing you guys real soon. I hope everybody is doing well. Keep up the fight. Listen, man, nothing that we fight and sacrifice and lose is in vain if you can see the good in what you do and are reminded why you do it. Nothing is in vain if you're losing for the right reasons. The only time it's in vain is when you're losing and you can't see the proper perspective as to why you're doing it and you can't see the good in it. That's when there's no benefit to it. So, the title of the class is The Road to Armageddon Explained Part 3. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we dealt with the need or the Most High's purpose was to bring all the nations to the Middle East region. And the Middle East region from Lebanon or the Mediterranean Sea all the way to Japan was the theater of war that the Most High had focused on. Okay? And the Most High's intention over all these years was to get all the world's weaponry, military supremacy, nukes, ICBMs, missile capacity, ground functions, whatever it was, to get everybody into one place so there will be this significant bloodbath and destruction on earth. 2 weeks ago, that was what Monday's class was about. This last Monday, the class was about, with that being the case, we know the Most High's intention was to bring everybody together. Last week was about how the Most High was going to bring everybody together. And how he was going to bring everybody together was through the use of United States propaganda. And how the propaganda, and which is one of United States and Esau the Beast's number one method of world dominance or hegemony or control over the world, those policies have been directed all around the world. But specifically, we know we're close to the end when the policies start driving down to the Middle East region. Now, that policies and those policies starting to gain momentum in the Middle East started in 1991 during Operation Desert Shield. Okay? And then it evolved from 91 to, what's the word of the name of the war?
Iraqi freedom?
Nope. Well, it wasn't freedom. That's not the one I was thinking of. It was, no, it was the Coalition of the Willing in 2003 when the United States was fighting Iraq and invaded Iraq. Okay? And that's when everybody came together again and they took down Saddam and finished him out. But these wars had been going on since 91. Iraq went down, and then you had the Arab Spring in 2011, which took down Libya, Egypt's leadership, Northern Africa, I think it was Algeria's leader, and they attempted to take down Syria. That started in 2011. And then from 2011 to 2024, the process of regime change happened in Syria. And once Syria fell in 2024, that was that valley of decision when now it's time to start ramping up and escalating all of the wars in the region. Now things start ramping up from 2024 on. Everything's been moving at the speed of light. So the Most High has been trying to bring all of this fighting, all of this war, all of these issues are coming together. It was storm, not shield. But all this stuff is happening. And now we're here with Iran. And the prophecies talks about Iran also. We're going to go back into Iran a little bit. But before we go into Iran, we're going to go back into and keep going and building slightly off of that propaganda scenario. Because it really explains the United States policy and how their policy was so much different than the rest of the world's ever been. Because no other country on earth was able to destroy and go to war with so many other people while looking like the good guys. Who else ever in history was able to pull off the amount of death and destruction and still come out smelling like roses? No. Everybody knew when the Romans was coming into town what was going to happen. Your life was out of there. And it was slavery. You was going to sit back here and get down and lay down. That was Rome.
But they were known as the premium.
You're missing the point. They were the top empire, no doubt. But it's how you're looked at is what made the United States different. The United States has been known from the beginning as being the what? The good guys. We're fighting the axis of evil. Everybody is the axis of evil. Right here, we're the good guys, you're the bad guys. Even when you sit back and look at World War I, do people teach you that in World War I, the Germans were the ones that were picked on? They don't tell you that Germany was outworking and outperforming Britain. And Britain was threatened by the reality that Germany was outproducing them. They were trying to establish a pipeline to get oil all the way through Turkey to Iraq. And Britain was like, you know what? We're not letting this happen. So they started sitting back here and starting the process of breaking Germany. Nobody says that, though. World War I was about Britain trying to maintain their power. And Britain sitting back here and disrupting the entire Ottoman Empire. Germany and the Ottoman Empire, which was what? The axis of what? They just happened to be the axis of who? Evil. But were they the axis of evil, or the Germany and the Ottoman Empire were the losers? Because who gets to write history?
The winners.
The winners. So just because it's written in history a certain way doesn't mean it went down that way. So Esau his empire was so unique because of his policies and how he was able to establish the reign of his empire. So let's go into this real quick. Let's start off with Daniel chapter 8, verse 21. Then we're going to jump to 23 to 25. I don't want to focus too much on Daniel's 8 in the beginning part, but I have to start here to set a tone. Daniel's 8, verse 21.
Daniel chapter 8, verse 21.
Matter of fact, somebody else give me Revelations 13 and 2 also. It's important that I tie this in since I'm going to Daniel's 8. Read that.
Daniel 8 and 21. And the rough goat is the king of Greece.
Revelations 8 is giving a breakdown about the Greek Empire fighting the Persian Empire, and eventually the Greek Empire was going to take out the Persian Empire. Okay? But from verse 21 down, it's talking about the Greek Empire. Now hold this and jump to Revelations chapter 13, verse 1 and 2.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 1. And I stood up, and I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea.
He said, I stood upon the sand of the sea, out of the nations. The sea refers to the nations. That's Revelation 17 and 5. I don't want to go there. Let's keep going.
And saw a beast rise up out of the sea.
The beast is a nation rising up out of the other nations. Read on.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns.
This particular beast had 7 heads, meaning 7 different empires, major leading empires of this one nation.
One bloodline.
This one nation of people had 7 empires in their nation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, read on.
And upon his horns 10 crowns.
And he had the horns means power. And all throughout history, that this one nation had their power. Through all the 7 empires, there was always 10 supporting empires that financially and militarily backed this one kingdom. Now, this one kingdom is the so-called white empire. And the seven heads of this white empire was the Greeks, the Romans, the Spanish, the French, the Germans, the Russians, and the British. Now we know the British, the latter end of the British Empire, is the United States. But out of these seven heads, over periods of time, there were always 10 different supporting lower tier kingdoms that supported them. Anyway, I'm not going to. Let's keep going.
And upon his heads the name of blasphemy.
Lies, wicked corruption. So what made this empire distinct was their policy and how they managed their empire. Their empire was managed on lies. But let's continue. Lies and wickedness, but keep going.
Verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard.
The beginning or the initial beast looked like a leopard. And the reason it's saying that because it looked like a leopard, because that was the first impression of the empire, was revealed and exposed as the leopard. And the first empire of the Caucasian nation was the Greek Empire. And they'll tell you that in history books, that civilization began with the Greeks. Never mind Babylon and Persia and Egypt and all those empires and Israel for 80 years. Never mind that.
Still good.
But everything starts with Mr. Charlie. So, the beginning of the empire was the leopard, which was the Greek Empire, and we could tie that in because Alexander the Great, his empire was known, or he was known as the leopard because of the swiftness of his taking over the empire, and he wore a leopard skin skull cap in war. And the reason I'm tying this in is because in Daniel's 8:21, we're talking about the inception of the Greek Empire and their first time in power. Okay? Now, read verse 2 in Revelation still.
Come. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear.
The feet explains the latter end of the empire. And the latter end, the last of the Caucasian Empire, will be the Russian Empire. But you have all of these kingdoms in between. Okay? Read on.
And his mouth as the mouth of a lion.
The mouth of the lion is talking about the British Empire. This lion is talking about the British Empire because the beast today, all of the moves that they're making, all of the decisions that are made are based upon British banking techniques, British banking system. And all the United States did was mimic and copy the majority of what Britain had did to colonize the entire world in the early 1900s. There was a saying about Britain that the sun never what? Sets on the British Empire. And Britain's template of how they financially run things. Listen, who was the one that had the brilliant idea to say slavery was inhumane?
The British.
The British did. Not the Yanks. The British. And what the British said was what? It's not cost effective to keep slaves. Because you got to pay for their health insurance. You got to house them. You got to feed them. Give them enough money, just enough money to feed themselves. Pay for their own medical.
And you will.
And to pay for their own clothes and their shelter. And oh, by the way, we'll own those places that they buy it from. It's more economically sound to do so. So the British sat back here and created a better system to make better money and sustain their empire more efficiently. And all America has done is taken that template and perfected it. So with that being the case, that's the lion. Read on.
And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
And we know when we're dealing with the elites, the ones who are pulling the strings, that Satan is the one that gave the elites their power and position on earth. Not trying to focus on that, but let this go and go back to Daniel chapter 8 and verse 21.
Daniel 8 and 21. And the rough goat is the king of Greece.
The rough goat is the king of Greece. So we're talking about the goat or the Greeks. Read on.
And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
The horn is referring to a power that's talking about Alexander the Great. Jump to verse 23.
Verse 23. And in the latter time of their kingdom,
We're still dealing with the latter time of Esau's kingdom, the so-called white man's empire. Read on.
when the transgressors are come to the full.
This is how you know when the Most High starts to when a nation's time is up. When their transgressions on earth or their transgressors are to the Most High are reaching their peak. They're to the full. Read on.
A king of fierce countenance
Mm-hmm.
and understanding dark sentences shall stand up.
Continue. I don't
And
want to
his
focus
power-
on all that because I don't want to take it away from the point. Continue.
And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power.
Mm-hmm.
And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper, and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people.
So what he's saying is, through Esau's practice and his policy, they will destroy wonderfully. All America has pushed is the desire for global hegemony. And this is why they're trying to finish everything off in the Middle East, China, and Russia. Because their goal is global hegemony. And they're destroying wonderfully their policies and how they've maintained their empire is based on everybody's desire to be democratic. Everybody's desire to be this. They have regime change, wiped out everybody, all in the name of democracy. And it's convinced the majority of people to sit back here and vote against the leader that's looking out for them. Even in Hungary. I don't know if you guys have been kind of like checking out Hungary. There was a leader named Viktor Orban. Viktor Orban was sitting back here and having significant issues with Zelensky. And he didn't agree with where the European Union was taking this war. He didn't want any part of the war. He didn't want to sit back here and cut off his relationship with Russia. He felt that keeping a relationship with Russia would be better economically for his country. And all of these policies were against EU quote-unquote values. And then you look up, and he got ousted out by another guy that's pro-EU. And this is all in the quote-unquote form of democracy. You look all throughout Europe, for instance. I don't know if you've heard, but Spain and Italy have been making deals with China. I don't know if you guys heard that. And they're not participating with what's happening with the United States. You hear Trump is pissed off at Spain. He's pissed off at Italy because nobody's helping him. Now, literally just last week, the president of Spain with his wife just left China. And they were the first G7 country to do a pact and a deal with China. Literally at the same time, Benjamin Netanyahu says, you guys are going to pay for not helping us. And then just yesterday, guess what happened? Spain, the president of Spain's wife is getting charged with corruption, bribery, and theft. So she about to get bracelets put on her wrist. This is how they do. Where'd this come from? How come now they're going to bring up these charges? Oh, because you sat back here and got out of line, and you're not backing the beast. So now we got to ding you. Then we're going to sit back here as we find dirt about your wife. We're going to find dirt about the husband too, and get him out of office, and bring somebody else in that has EU values. That's not going to side with China. Same thing with Italy. They're going to sit back here and get Maloney out too. This is how Esau does things. This is what geopolitics looks like. So they've been able to sit back and regime change countries to control the whole country, control the economy, so forth and so on. Same thing with Maduro. Maduro wasn't playing ball. We said earlier in numerous classes, Maduro wasn't the drug dealer. The drug dealer was the president of Ecuador, who's friends with Rubio. That's the drug guy. But why is Maduro getting thrown in jail with a Nike suit on? Because he's doing deals with China.
Same thing.
So we got to get him out and bring another person in.
Trying to break China.
And Esau has wonderfully, the United States has wonderfully controlled his environment, wonderfully controlled the world. I don't know if you heard about the guy Ibrahim Traore. They've tried to kill him like 30 times already. You heard that?
In Africa.
The guy in Africa. Yes, the guy. What's the country's name? I can't think of it right now. What's the name of the country, man? Ibrahim Traore. Normally I forget his name and remember the country. Anyway, the dude with the red beret.
He always was a military.
Anyway, that brother, they tried to kill him 30 times. Why? Because he kicked the French military out. It's that simple.
Is he from the Congo?
No, it's not the Congo. It's Burkina Faso. That's the country. Burkina Faso, and they kicked the Frenchies out.
Right.
And then in retaliation, now they're trying to kill him.
They kicked out the warrior.
No, well, not necessarily. They do deals with China. Most of these countries got to do deals with somebody. So you're going to sit back here. You got to do something. Right. So what am I trying to say? This is how they wonderfully prosper and practice their diplomacy. Is it really diplomacy? It's not. It's like shotgun diplomacy. You're going to do what we say, or we're going to kill you or remove you from power. This is what they did to Mohammed Mossadegh in Iran many years ago in the 50s. He told the British Petroleum Company Shell that, listen, we're going to take our own oil and we're going to sit back here and privatize, not privatize it. We're going to make it a government entity so we can eat and survive. A year later, he was killed. And they put the Shah in. And then the Shah came in and Iran sat back here and ousted him, and they put the Ayatollah in. This has been happening all throughout history. It's so-called white man's policies and craft for controlling the natural resources and the people of the region without looking like the bad guy, by looking like the defender of democracy. So, read verse 24 again. Well, the last part, and he shall destroy.
Cut. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. Verse 25. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand.
And this is what I was saying. His diplomacy, his techniques of dominating. How can he be referred to as the beast but not look like the beast? Remember when Iran in the 80s called the U.S. Great Satan? Everybody else is like, that's extreme. The United States is about diplomacy, and Ronald Reagan, he loves the people.
Freedom.
And everybody's about freedom in the United States. We're talking about great Satan. They look like these extremists, not realizing they saw it right. It just took the world 30, 40 years to figure out that this policy was wicked.
It's a blueprint.
And it was a blueprint for world domination. Right. But instead of saying world domination, they say global hegemony. That sounds nice. Full spectrum, global hegemony. What does that mean? Hegemony? Oh, that means we're going to control everything. We're going to control your economics. We're going to control your military. We're going to control everything. That's what they do. And then they create wars with people that don't play ball. People don't know that in 2007, Vladimir Putin at the G7 Council had a speech in 2007. And he said, listen, from here on out, United States is not going to be the only unipolar power in the world. There's going to be a multipolar power in the world. And John McCain, he was literally there at the meeting. And they gave a screenshot of John McCain. McCain was like this. Boy, we're gonna get you. We're gonna get you. Yeah. And literally, literally X amount of years later, you start hearing John McCain in Ukraine having speeches to the political party in Ukraine saying, you guys deserve your sovereignty. And we're going to do whatever we can to help you. We're going to build your military up. We're going to build your money up. We're going to build all your war materials. And this is what happened in 2014. That Maidan incident happened. An attempted coup of the region. That only happened because 7 years before, Putin said, we're not going to play ball. It's not going to be one show in town anymore. And all this stuff happens. What am I trying to say? This is their craft. This is their policy. We're going to control everything, but spin it like the people we want destroyed is the bad guy. They don't tell you in Syria that Barack Obama had a sit down with Bashar al-Assad and said, listen, we need you to open up your land so we can put a pipeline through it so we can get oil to Europe. Al-Assad said no. And Obama said, listen, if you tell us no, you're going to look up and you're going to be public enemy number one in the world. And what happens? Bashar al-Assad's a dictator. He's the worst guy on earth. And these smear campaigns start kicking out.
Because they are controlling mass media.
That it's the mass media, and everybody trusts the United States, and that's how their craft and their policy has prospered all throughout history.
And no other nation's propaganda or perspective or mass media dominates the earth like U.S. mass media perspective.
Remember Manuel Noriega? They used him before he was outed like the bad guy. They used him, and they killed the guy that was in Nicaragua or Panama that actually gave them about the people. There was a guy that was pro-Panama that didn't want to play economic ball with them, so they killed him and replaced him with Manuel Noriega. Then all of a sudden, Manuel Noriega thought you couldn't tell him nothing. And they told the Bushes, I got pictures on you. I got pictures of you doing some bad things. And all of a sudden, they start getting there, and then all of a sudden, the military is in Panama. What the hell happened?
I don't know it.
You were their stooge for 10 years. But they don't tell you all that. That's the point. And then, when the media started catching on to the CIA's antics, what did they stop doing? The CIA stopped being the spearhead of the operations. And then,
Shell company.
well, not shell companies. National Endowment for Democracy pops up. And all of these different nonprofit or NGOs kick in, and they end up regime changing through NGOs. This is a craft and a skill. They don't tell you that the scenario that happened at Tiananmen Square in China was a regime change operation, an NGO funded by George Soros. And then after it happened, they kicked out George Soros out of China. They don't tell you the same thing they were doing. They've been doing NGOs and trying to set up regime change operations since the 80s. Well, that was Oliver North. That scenario with the Iran-Contra scandal made the CIA look bad. And so all of a sudden, the CIA couldn't have their handprints doing the dirt anymore. Because what the CIA was doing back then is they were selling the drugs, selling the guns, to fund the Contras. All that stuff was done, and the CIA had too much of a handprint in it. So after that, it was in the late 80s when the NED was announced by Reagan, the National Endowment of Democracy. And then USAID popped up after that. And then other small NGOs popped up after that. And these were the policies used to continue world dominance. You ever heard, remember in the Philippines, Noriega, no, it wasn't Noriega, it was the Ferdinand Marcos. That was one of the first major regime change operations by the Soros Group. All these things happened, and they were being established by Esau's policy, by United States policy. And this is how they were able to gain dominance and prosper through their policies and their devices. And for many years, it worked. I always talk about in 2001, the Kuwaitis were caught red-handed slant drilling into Iraq. Saddam Hussein calls the U.S. and says, listen, man, the Kuwaitis they're stealing our oil. I want to go down to Kuwait and deal with these guys. The U.S. says, we're not going to interfere. Do what you got to do. And as soon as he puts boots on the ground, the butcher of Baghdad, we got to get rid of him. This is crazy. But it is how the power of propaganda and the power of their policy that has gotten the world subjugated the way that it is. Are we clear? Continue.
Daniel 8:25. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart.
Because you know what? You couldn't tell him, and you can't tell him now, because even now they're doubling down on these lies that they keep pushing about Iran having weapons of mass destruction. Didn't they say the same thing about the Iraqis? They got weapons of mass destruction. Did they ever find weapons of mass destruction? No, they didn't.
They said they're going to they said they're going to get a nuke in 2 weeks for the past like 20 years.
Well, yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu said
They're 2 weeks
this
away.
was 20 years ago. They said they're 2
getting a
weeks
nuke
away from a nuke.
for 20
years ago?
20 years ago. They've been 20 weeks away for 20 years.
This is crazy.
20 years.
And they're just, the lies keep coming. And what happens? They're magnified in their heart about these lies.
Oh.
They're saying, you know what they're saying about the Strait of Hormuz? They're saying that the Iranians are extorting the people, bringing their boats through the strait, right? They're saying they're extorting them. They're saying that it's unfair that Iran is charging money for people to bring their boats through the strait. How about the Strait of Gibraltar all charges a fee? How about the Panama Canal charges a fee?
Everybody charges a fee.
How about the Suez Canal in Egypt charges a fee? That's how they were able to pay for all their military weaponry and make Egypt one of the stronger nations in the region militarily, because they're charging fees.
You can't go.
The only idiots that didn't charge fees was Iran. Now they're extorting people because they're doing what they were supposed to do 30 years ago. You see how the lie spins the idea of what's really happening, and nobody in the United States has understanding of the laws of how the straits operate. Nobody knows nothing about that. You say, hey, they are extorting the people. Nobody does that, not realizing they do. This is common business. This is how countries make money. Having straits go through, having companies and ports go through your area, and they pay for the service of going through your area. That's common knowledge. But through the lies, through the policy, and how they magnify themselves too, they just keep lying and doubling down the lie and doubling down the lie. And now the Most High is starting to dry up those lies, and people are starting to see it. This is how you know this is a telltale sign that we're getting closer to the end, because the alibis ain't matching up.
Exactly.
The lies are starting to catch up, and people are starting to see it for what it really is. At least a portion is. Okay.
A good part of the critical mass is sin. Everybody being blind.
So let's keep going to verse 25. He says, and he shall magnify himself in his heart,
and by peace shall destroy many.
Hasn't the United States Empire through peace destroyed many? Just the idea of saying, hey, Ukraine deserves their sovereignty. Boom. That's war right there. When you sit back and you read in Isaiah, I'm not going here, Isaiah 13 talks about how at the end times brothers are going to be fighting against brother. Who mastered that policy of brother versus brother? The British and the United States. What did the Brits do before they left India in 1945? They said, we can no longer police the world. We can't control the lands we once had. We're overextended. World War II broke us financially. So how can we control these regions without our footprint being here? You know what we got to do? We got to pit these two. We got to pit the people of their country against each other. So what we're going to do is, for years in India, there's been Hindus and Muslims for years, and they've operated in harmony for years. What does Esau do? Okay, listen. We're going to pick red or blue because of blood. What side you want? If you're Muslim, you got to move to the left side of the country. If you're Hindu, move to the right. Now you automatically sat back here, and now you're set tripping.
But it wasn't a problem before, though.
They existed and cohabited for years. Now all of a sudden we're going to create this beef and split you up. This is British policy. This is United States policy. What's happening in China? They're saying we recognize Taiwan as being sovereign. What are you talking about? Taiwan is Chinese. Everybody can understand that.
Speak Chinese.
Literally since Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong defeated Chiang Kai-shek pre-World War II. And then when it was happening, the losers, which was Chiang Kai-shek's empire, went to Taiwan. but they're still united. But I'm going to create brotherhood beef. You're Shanghai Sheikh's crew, you're Mao Zedong's crew. Fight. North Korea, South Korea. They're the same people, brother against brother. This is what brother against brother is all about. The British tried to do that in the United States with the North and the South, the Civil War. It was the same thing. The British was backing the South because they wanted the North to fall. The British and the French were going to divvy up the United States if the North lost, because they needed money because they've been killing each other in Europe during the Napoleonic Wars. So they had to get their money up and run up in the United States to get their stacks up.
Yep.
This is history. But the policy is the same. We're going to pit people against each other, pit brothers against each other, pit families against each other, pit people that have worked together in harmony from the beginning against one another. This is why after even in I think it's in Syria and in Iraq, there's a group called the Kurds. And these Kurds don't have really a land of their own, but they use the fact that during Saddam Hussein's time, the Sunnis, the Shiite Muslims, and the Kurds were able to work together. And the Alawites in Syria were able to work together. So now what we do is, Kurds, we acknowledge your sovereignty. Fight. So now the Kurds are sitting back here beefing and set tripping in Iraq, fighting and beefing and set tripping in Syria. Now you got this guy who was Al-Qaeda running Syria, and they're killing all of the Christians, killing all of the certain demographics of Syria. So they're just watering down and weakening the population, and that's United States policy. But is United States literally doing it? Or are they financing the guys who do it? Because this new guy who was Al-Qaeda, who was top 10 most wanted in the world, when he got to the Bashar al-Assad's temple or his palace, how did he have a palace full of United States dollars that was shipped into the palace? How did he get this money?
Who is it?
The new leader of Syria, who was America's the most wanted guy, top 10 most wanted guy. How did he sit back here and have palace of United States dollars in cash in Syria? Because they're backing him. So they're backing all these coups with the use of drug money and all this type of dark money that they're building. And they're using it to fund wars to, under the guise of peace, destroy many. Does that make sense? This is how American policy is. We have to look squeaky clean, but really we're destroying all of these countries. And we have our hand in all these uprisings all across the world. Okay, so read on. He shall stand up.
God. And by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of the princes.
This is important because it lets you know that this isn't talking about the Greek Empire. Because the Greek Empire didn't stand up against Christ, did they? No, it didn't. So this lets you know that from verse 21 to 25, it's talking about a succession of the Caucasian Empire. And at the very end, they're going to stand up against Christ. Read on.
But he shall be broken without hand.
So that lets you know this is over a period of centuries of Caucasian Edomite influence from the Greek Empire all the way to the Russian Empire, that these policies are happening. Okay? Let that go. Go to Proverbs chapter 6. I'm going to take my time. There's a lot of information, so if I rush it, it's not going to hit properly. We're still on the vein of propaganda and the lies of this system, and we will eventually escalate into more information. Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 16 through 19.
Proverbs chapter 6, verse 16. These things that the Lord hates.
He says the Most High hates these elements in a person. And if he hates these elements in a person, then you would think he would hate these elements in policymakers of a nation. Read on.
Yeah. 7 are an abomination unto him.
Mm-hmm.
A proud look.
Listen, the proud look. Didn't we just read in Daniel chapter 8 that this Greek empire, this Edomite empire, was going to have a proud look? What was the exact word? Let me get it. He said, and it was in Daniel's 8, he said he would magnify himself in his heart. What is that? That's a proud look. That's ego. That's arrogance. Okay? Read on.
Greek society is the beginning of civilization.
Exactly. But that's a lie. And then they don't tell you that Greek civilization stole Egyptian and Babylonian history and Hebrew history and made it theirs.
That's that was theirs.
That if that's not hubris,
And pride.
ego and pride, I don't know what is. Because before they took over, they didn't have a history. Greeks didn't have any written history. So they just made it up on the fly. Because every time anybody wrote books back in those days, the warring states would destroy the information. The earliest information that the Greeks had was the damn Odyssey
Yeah. The Syrians,
and Iliad.
the Syrians are singing to the guy. He's like, I can't leave.
And that's all it is.
Chain me to the boat.
That's all it is. I like these music. That music was fly.
They sound really good.
But that's the beginning of their
The
history.
Cyclops.
Yeah, that's all they got. And the evil suitors.
They,
and that was
that's their
Swan.
history. That's their information. They remember that.
I know. That's written. But what am I saying?
Yeah.
It's a lie how they frame
Yeah.
the image of their civilization, and they're not honest about how things really work.
That's a problem.
So let's continue.
A lying tongue.
And listen, their whole, what do you call it? Their whole diplomatic or foreign policy is set up with lies. How can you do this? They did this to Iran on 2 separate occasions before the war started. A year ago, they came to Iran. I think it was in Zurich or somewhere, Switzerland. They said, we're going to have peace talks. No more war. And literally in the midst of the peace talks, they're bombing. How does that make sense? They did that twice. In the middle of peace talks, we're bombing you. They did the same thing to Putin in Russia. Vladimir Putin is on the phone with President Trump. And Trump said, yeah, man, we got to fix this. We got to work this out. Where are you at right now, man, by the way, man? Where are you at? Oh, I'm in Valdosta, Russia, whatever. Oh, man, that's crazy, man. This war is crazy. We got to fix this war, man. Oh, listen, I'm going to call Vladimir Zelensky right now. Hold tight. Don't leave. So while literally Putin is on the phone, like 80 drones are sent to his location.
They set him up.
What kind of craziness is that? 80
They
drones?
set him up to wet him up.
They
did.
they set him up.
Were they bombs? Or?
Yes, they weren't like surveillance drones.
Amazon packages. Here you go.
No, listen, they were literally bombed out.
Yeah.
They tried to bomb his residence in the middle of peace talks.
Yeah.
If that's not a lying tongue, I don't know what it is. But that's United States policy.
Right.
Whether it's Trump, whether it's Pete Hegseth, whether it's Marco Rubio, it doesn't matter who it is. J.D. Vance, like this guy really gives a damn. They're all following orders and they're playing the game. Anyway, let's continue. So the Most High says he hates these elements of a person that does this. Kind of ties you into Malachi 3:1, where the Most says he hates Esau. I'll let you know that, but let's keep going.
God. And hands that shed innocent blood.
Is that not Esau? Hands that shed innocent blood? We can sit back here and deal with the so-called black man and the Native American man, the killing of 77 million Native Americans. Y'all saw that Lego video where the Iranians sat back here and said, we do it for the black man and man. We do it for the Native American man. We do it for all these people that are suffering under the hand of the United States. They understood it. Now, is it their form of propaganda? Yes. And also, why they're doing it in Lego film? Maybe that's how they look at the American public. Maybe they think we're so childish, we can only digest cartoon videos.
That's true.
And how about that, right? You say, oh, dog, you see that Lego video? Oh, it was cold, dog. It was so cold. You see how them bombs was chasing Trump, man? This was fly.
A lot of reactions though.
A lot of
But
likes.
it's cartoonish so that people can get it on a younger level.
That's the point. So what am I saying? Listen, if Esau has not shed innocent blood all throughout their reign in power, come on, man. Listen, why did they sit back and send all these soldiers to South Vietnam? Just because they didn't want it to be communist? All these people got to get blown up and burnt for no reason. Why did they kill 500,000 children in Iraq?
500,000 lives.
500,000 children. Not people. 500,000 children. That's just as innocence.
Because
What did these children do to deserve getting carpet bombed? What's happening? Remember, even, let's use Trump. Trump said, everybody, this is your chance, Iran, to get the leadership you want. We love the people of Iran,
you really do?
but we don't like the leadership, so go take your city like you're Bane. Take your city. I mean, you're going to take your city, right? They didn't take the city.
Anybody can be the leader of the company. Anybody, any kind of street.
So then what happens is, they don't take, they unite. They said, we're going to sit back here and destroy all of them. Like, damn, which one is it? I thought you cared about the people of Iran.
No.
Now you want to destroy all of them and take them back to the Stone Age? You said that also. We're going to wipe them off the face of the earth. He said that too. So because you're pissed off at the Ayatollah, you're going to kill 92 million people? Because that's how many people are in Iran, 92 million. That's what you're going to do? So what the Moses says, that he hates a person whose hands shed innocent blood. What do you think they're doing but shedding innocent blood throughout history? How about the Palestinians? They're sitting back here and wiping them out in droves. Then they're sitting back here in the captured Palestinians. There are debates on if we should sit back here and violate these men or not. That was literally a question that was asked. Is it right if we should go deal with these men or not? That was literally talked about.
Yep.
Then there is a spike. No, earlier than that. There's a spike of organ harvesting amongst these Palestinian people. They've been doing that for 30 years. They would sit back here, kill the Palestinian men or the children or the people, cut them up, take their organs out, and then send their bodies back, stitched up. Literally, that's what happens. That's what's been happening in Israel literally since the 80s. Taking people from Gaza, if they're sick, if they're about to die, if they're freshly dead, let's harvest these organs and sell them on the black market. There's books that are written about that. And they're doing it now. This is what's happening to the innocent. And Moses says, I hate these nations and people that destroy the innocent.
Innocent blood.
If this is talking about one nation, I don't know who the hell it is. Listen, our people might be sitting back here set tripping about a stupid corner. And we're selling rocks. And we'll get stung for that. But the level of hate that the nation that's in power is doing, we can't come close to that level of hatred. At all. Read on.
Proverbs 6:18. And heart that deviseth wicked imaginations.
Listen, the wicked, what do you think's happening now in global policy? Wicked imagination is, we're going to sit back here and blockade your blockade. Think about this. If that's not a wicked imagination, what is? Iran just said we're going to blockade this unless the U.S. leaves. If you want to sit back here and get your ships out of the Persian Gulf, give us $2 million per ship. Or it was a certain monetary number per barrel of oil. If you pay it in Chinese yuan, it can come through. Except for the U.S. and except for Israel. Now, the United States always brags about we don't even use and need this oil anyway. So the U.S. don't need the oil. We don't need the oil in the Gulf. They said we're energy rich. So, if you don't need the oil, but people in your allies in South Korea, your allies in Thailand, your allies in Taiwan, your allies in Europe are fiending for oil. They're fiending. Like, dog, what you need? Listen,
Can I get
Like,
something?
baby, what you need from me?
It's wrong, okay?
Listen, Europe is dying for oil.
Is that
So,
bad?
but now what does U.S. say?
That's
Okay,
bad.
if you're not going to sit back here and give us what we want,
Mhm.
we're going to blockade every ship that pays the $2 million, and we'll blow it out of the damn water to prove a point.
Oh my God.
That's what the blockade of the blockade is.
Exactly.
So listen, what the U.S. is saying, we're going to destroy and F up England's oil, F up Germany's oil.
The boys.
We're going to F up all of y'all oil because we got to win. And then they get chastised. You didn't help us sit back here. You didn't care about the West Coast. You didn't care about us. You didn't care about sitting back here fighting for this oil. So you don't get no oil.
It's so narcissistic.
Well, it's narcissistic and it's evil and it's a wicked imagination. If that's not a wicked imagination, what is? That's a triple down move. If I can't control it, nobody's going to control it. And I'm going to make everybody suffer. So now all of a sudden, people are going to be starving because they don't have the fertilizer they need to sustain themselves.
Yeah, world famine.
Also, there's not going to be the energy needed to sustain countries. Famine, no power. The United States literally had Cuba at the brink of destruction. They were literally had to sit back here and cook on wood. And Russia was able to bring one of their oil takers into Cuba, and it bought them some time. Cuba was about to get suffocated out of existence. Listen, at the hospitals in Cuba, the machines were being manually kept on. Somebody was like the hamster wheel guy. He was just running at and creating energy at to sit back and keep people from dying. That's what the United States does to countries that don't play ball with them. And they went and attacked Cuba because the United States took out the legs of the one country that was keeping them sustained. Venezuela and their oil was keeping Cuba alive. So they cut out Cuba, they cut out Venezuela to cut out China. And oh, by the way, now we can break Cuba down. Now we got it.
Well, they let Russia in to feed them some oil.
For a little bit.
Yeah.
Just because, you know why? Because it was going to look a little bad that a couple million Cubans died. So we got to make sure we don't all the way kill them. But we're going to make them feel like we're going to kill them.
And by the way, Russia Putin is loving all of this.
Because now, all these countries that are allies to the United States are calling him, hey dog, well, what you need for this? Oh, man. But what's the point? But we're still dealing with United States policy and how the wicked imagination of U.S. policy is crippling the rest of the world. And you know this, we're going to catch it last. The Western civilization is going to catch it last, or U.S. going to catch it last. Europe going to feel this soon. The East is going to feel it soon. This is why we can't be so comfortable thinking that this place has to completely fall apart in America before the end is here. Not so fast, my friend. It might not completely happen. It might not completely collapse here. It's collapsing everywhere else first.
And then
So the Most High might let it collapse bad in the East and then bomb the West because the East can't handle it. Just keep that in mind. So, once again, all these examples prove how wicked United States policymakers and the people that control them are.
Yeah.
Read on.
Feet that be swift in running to mischief.
Listen, Esau is swift to go and liberate a country when they find oil. Listen, remember when the earthquake of Haiti happened?
quick,
You know why they ran for aid to help out these little
all the
Haitian
babies down in Haiti. That's what they said.
That's a song. Listen, if that a song, you
No,
say it.
no. She said that because that was a popular thing at the time.
But this is the thing. Why did they go to Haiti? Does anybody know why they went to Haiti? When the earthquake hit, they discovered gold in them dark hills.
Yep.
They found gold in Haiti. So we gotta help these black kids out.
Babies need help.
Yeah, right.
All celebrities in the
But how about organizations that had to do with pizza went out there to help out those Haitian babies?
Mm-hmm.
How about that one? It was those little triangular guys with their images. and their pizza conversations. They came down with their organizations and took care of those Haitian babies. And while they took care of them, they got that gold. This is what it's all about. Their feet are quick to run to evil. If we sit back here, if you discover lithium, we're there, bro. Or, you know what Esau does? He has his telescope, not his telescope, but his satellites. They scour the world with frequencies to find particular minerals. That's literally what they do. And when they find a particular mineral, hey, man, you're going to get down and you're going to lay down. We're going to be partners? Are you going to let us bring our corporations to your country? Or not? Because if it's no, then we're going to either elect you out, and if we can't elect you out, we're going to kill you out.
As simple as that.
And then we're going to bring somebody else in that's going to do the deal we're looking for. And all we're going to do, we're going to let you function until we pick the right sucker to replace you. And that's the game. And this is how their feet are quick to run to evil and mischief. If I can find a way to make money, you're out of here. If we find a new natural resource we need, you're out of here. That's it. We're done.
A false witness that speaketh lies.
The Most High hates a false witness. What do you think propaganda is? But lying on somebody. Making a false accusation about a nation's intention. You're going to sit back here in the 90s and blame Saddam Hussein for being so wicked, but you forgot to mention he's on your payroll? And you've been paying him for years?
And Bin Laden.
Oh, I'm going to go to him next. Bin Laden is the worst guy in the world, but you've been doing businesses with him and his family for 50 years. But Bin Laden is the worst guy in the world? You're going to sit back here and talk about human rights violations with certain countries, but the Saudis treat people like slaves. But you don't talk about that. They treat the Pakistanis and all the workers in Saudi Arabia like slaves. It's slave labor. But you don't talk about that. But if somebody else, you want their power, we're going to talk about how unjust you are with people.
That's propaganda.
This is lies. And the Most High hates a person, a false witness that speaks lies. Read on.
And he that soweth discord among brethren.
The Most High said this last one in verse 19. Make sure I got this right. Yeah. This is the one that's an abomination. He says it's an abomination to sow discord amongst brothers. But that's been British and United States policy since the late 1800s. It's to sow discord. A lack of unity amongst people in your own country. To initiate infighting.
That's to destroy borders.
This is how you know who the devil is. This is how you know who the people that operate like the devil is. The intentional sowing of discord. So that everybody's fighting one another and not seeing who's doing the robbing and the stealing. Right now, India is bombing Pakistan. Right now. Then you sit back and you set up border beeps between India and China. China and Thailand. North Korea, South Korea. Everybody's focusing on that, but not focusing on who's robbing who. Who's stealing from who. For years, they were pitting Africans against Africans and keeping everything under control that way. This is how you maintain power. Africa is just now picking up to let's kick these French people out and these imperialists out and try to come together and try to have a halfway decent country. Just now happening. Even when you hear about the Tutsis and the Hutus, if I'm not, I always get those two confused. Yeah, that whole story. One group is backed by the United States. It was the elite group. I think it was the Tutsis, but they were painted as the victims. But they were the ones killing the Hutus. They don't tell you that. Esau be pitting nation against nation. Hutus and Tutsis, you know what they are? It's the rich class versus the poor class. The rich class was kicked out. Then they were backed to come back and take over the poor people. Then the poor people were blamed for the massacre. But the rich people came in and killed the poor people. It was classism. Who set the classism up? United States. This is how they roll. Moses said he hates a nation of people, policy makers, that sow discord amongst brothers. This is United States policy. So this is why I'm taking my time to explain this so we can understand why the Most High has to destroy this place. Because right now, nobody really feels it here. We when we're sitting back here street teaching, we're stretching for, oh, white man, this, what is it? What is it really doing to you right now? Nobody, the black man ain't getting persecuted in America right now, bro. How about that?
Traffic tickets, huh?
Listen,
You can't get on the street without getting pulled over.
well, just pay your bill. Pay your beeper bill. You won't get them and put in jail. That's not oppression. That's just being lazy and not responsible. But you see my point? Listen, we ain't going through nothing. But how the world is getting manipulated, how people in South America are getting treated, Central America, Mexico, that's suffering. Palestine, that's suffering. We're sitting back here. We're comfortable out here. In comparison to them, this is nothing.
Yeah.
This is nothing. Just being honest. Would you want to be in Gaza? Where there's no water? And they're sleeping on just rubble and rocks? And then when you go to the hospital, they bomb the hospital. Then they say, oh yeah, Hamas is under the hospital. Are you serious? No proof. I'm just going to blow up hospital and say Hamas is under there. Set tripping. We got to destroy it all. Are you serious?
Terrorists.
This is crazy. This is crazy. And how about the leaders of Hamas are living in Qatar? They're not even in Gaza. And how about they're living in Qatar and they're financed by Israel? It's a political party. It's not even the people.
ISIS is too.
But ISIS, Al Qaeda, all of it, the Kurds, they're all financed by the United States to set up brother against brother, to create dysfunction. That's my point. Netanyahu was talking, he's talking about Hamas like they're the devil, but you're paying them. How did they get the weapons? You gave them the money for the weapons.
He's giving them 30.
And you're communicating with their leadership in Qatar. And they're in on it because they're getting paid too. And the Palestinians are dying and they're suffering. Have you seen those images of what they're going through? And the black man wants to talk about the affliction in America? Get out of here. Get out of town. That's why all that Jew low level talk about the black man suffering. We ain't suffering nothing. You got a chance to pay bills and live in an apartment. Shut up. You got public transportation. You got food in your stomach.
Have you seen their cities for miles and
First of all, it's only like 20 miles deep.
Right.
And like 3 miles wide. And it's destroyed. That's my point. That's suffering. That's suffering. Are we living anything like that? Are we living like people in Mexico? Hell no, we ain't living like people in Mexico. We're going to talk about the affliction of the black man? Are you serious? That's ridiculous. Go to Central America and see how them streets look. Go to the grocery store in Antigua, Guatemala and see how that looks. You be like, damn. I'd rather go to the east side damn HEB. It's 1,000 times better than whatever the hell is going on in damn Brazil or in Guatemala. I've seen the housing in Guatemala. It's literally the width of this screen is how big the house is. And it's on like the most shaky, unstable material in the world. This is life every day on dirt floors. Like, what's going on here? And we want to complain? We're tripping. We're tripping. Anyway, so read verse 19 again. The Most High said in verse 16, this is an abomination to the Most High when he sees people do this. Read that.
From the top.
Yep.
A false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren.
Because this false witness is speaking lies to sow discord, to create stress. Listen, they sat back here. Ukraine and Russia are brothers. They're Slavic brothers. And the Ukrainians ate the cheese and said, we're going to keep funding you money and guns and resources, and you're going to have your own country. And then all of a sudden, now that Ukraine's about to get destroyed, they said, hey, dog, Those shipments we promised you, they're not coming in. They're going to the Middle East. Like what?
Yeah.
So they just played them, huh? So now they're in a bloody damn war with their brothers for no reason. And they're stopped getting backed and financed.
And same thing with South Korea.
Done.
You have the THAAD system. We need you to make sure you have the system to detect any kind of missiles because we don't want nobody to bomb your country.
Yep.
And then
But you had to pay you had to pay ridiculous
you had to
bread
pay
for
crazy.
it. You paid for it.
You pay a lot of money for it. You paid for it.
You paid for it. You got to give it back.
And then, they lose all their
Their
equipment.
THAAD systems, yeah.
They say, hey, we need our system back. You're like, oh, I'll pay for this.
What about baby arms ready to sit back and push a button on them?
Doesn't matter.
That's my point.
Not the priority right now.
That's my point. That's how you know you're getting played and you're getting pimped.
Yeah.
And the Most High said, I'm purposely sowing this discord, and I'm going to take advantage of you and cut you off when I feel like it. That's the policy of the United States. Under the guise of liberty, and you deserve your sovereignty. I say you deserve your sovereignty, but really, I'm setting a civil war up so you can kill each other, and you can weaken the strongest group so we can come in there and get what we want. And we can sit back and you've just created plausible what? Deniability. They're fighting. They're fighting. Listen, who trained the drug cartels in Mexico? United States.
Wasn't the Arabs.
United States trained them. Who runs the government in Mexico half the time? The cartels. They run it. But who runs them? Thank you. So I have a personalized army that's able to run this dope back and forth to the United States. And I can use them to put leverage on the country of Mexico whenever you want to. Listen, the drug cartels in Mexico is just like ISIS or the Taliban or Al-Qaeda. It's the same thing. I'm just going to keep funding these rebel groups to create discord in the country. That's U.S. policy. And that's what the Most High hates this nation. Okay, let's go. Let all that go and go to Isaiah chapter 5 and 20. Like I said, we're taking our time. We're only in verse 3. If we don't get super long or far into it, I don't know what to say. I'm not going to rush because if we rush it, the message won't stick. Isaiah 5 and 20.
Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 20. Woe to them that call evil good and good evil.
That's propaganda. That's propaganda 101. He says destruction to the nation. When you sit back and read the scriptures, the Bible is a geopolitical book. So when you're reading things like this, he's talking about nations and kingdoms. Remember on Sabbath, we were talking about how the Most High was communicating to the leaders of the world how to operate in wisdom. This book is all about keeping leadership accountable. So when leaders are not accountable and they call the evil good and the good evil, listen, they vilified Muammar Gaddafi. Did they not?
Yeah.
They said he was the worst wicked dictator in the world. But what was he doing? He took all his oil money income and took care of all the people in the country. If a young couple got married, we're going to give you $20,000 in a house, on the house. He made a promise. I will sleep in a tent. I will sleep in a tent until everybody in Libya has a home. Me and my mother. Me and my mother will sleep in a tent until everybody in Libya has a home. That doesn't sound like a dictator to me. Education is free. College is free. And if you want to go to school to another country to get a specialized degree, they pay for it. How is that dictatorship? The only reason it was dictatorship is Gaddafi chose to take the money and take care of his people versus take the money and give it to the white man and let them bring their privatized companies into the region. And then he super crossed the line when he said, you know what? Let's gather and unite all the African nations together and create the dinar, the African dollar, and let's unite. And they said, that's it. This guy's out of here. And they took him out. But what's the point? Propaganda says he was evil. And the United States was the good ones. He says he hates the people that spin the truth, that lie, that paint this image like one side is so much better than the other. He says he hates that nation. He hates that people that have perfected that policy. Read on. Read verse 20 again.
Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light.
Let's sit back here and talk about Operation Iraqi Freedom. Were the Iraqis really free? Or did you kill 500,000 children? That's not freedom to me. They interviewed this lady named Albright, Madeleine Albright. And she was like Secretary of Defense. And they said, listen, was the killing of 500,000 children necessary? Because I think it was absolutely necessary. I'm like, what? How did that take out Saddam? I gotta kill and destroy your infrastructure. Just like Iran. We're going to sit back here and take out your water and your power. People don't realize that's a war crime. When you're fighting in war, you're not supposed to go at civilian infrastructure. You're supposed to just attack the military installations. If the United States just attacked the military installations, 500,000 children wouldn't have died. What you did is decimated an entire nation of people and set them back generations. That's what you did. Under the name of freedom. And we're the good guys and they're the bad guys. And then the $1 million question is, why would you go to Afghanistan when everybody who was in the World Trade Center that blew up the World Trade Center was Saudi? They were Saudi Arabians. All the passports that were magically found right next to all the rubble in the area, they were Saudis. So why would you go to Afghanistan? When he was in Pakistan. He was in Pakistan. He was in Pakistan, and the perpetrators were in Saudi Arabia. Why would you go to Afghanistan? Because you wanted control of the narcotics and the resources in Afghanistan. They went to Afghanistan and they said, listen, you guys can know we're not going to let you farm anything but poppy. So the Afghanistan people started mass producing the poppy. And they started shipping it, which is the heroin, to Russia, to weaken Russia.
To break Russia.
And surround Iran. That doesn't make sense. Why go to Afghanistan? Nothing got accomplished there.
Some did accomplish that.
But besides slinging that yayo, they slang yayo. They make it and they slang it. That's all that happened. Militarily, nothing got accomplished. Did it? Like I said, that's why the Moses says destruction to the nation that calls good evil, or evil good and good evil, and calls darkness light and light for darkness. Read on.
That put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter.
But the skill of doing that is what made the U.S. so great and so popular and so loved, because they had the skill and the talent to spin who the real bad guys were, and to lie about who the good people were, or the people who were just fighting for their sovereignty. Let that verse go and go to Ecclesiasticus and the Apocrypha. Chapter 26. I know we're still going on propaganda. This is the last propaganda verse, to be honest with you, but let's read this. No, that's not true. I'm lying. But let's go. Read that. Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, 26 and 5.
Ecclesiastes chapter 26 verse 5. There be three things that mine heart feared, and for the fourth I was sore afraid.
There's three things that a person's mind is a dreadful thing to have to experience this. Read on.
The slander of a city.
When he says the slander of the city is one of the worst things that can happen to a person. What do you think propaganda is targeted to do? What do you think that everything we've been hearing on the news is targeted to paint Iran as this wicked, evil country that abuses women, that has this wicked ayatollah, and they're trying to desensitize the reality that they're human beings. What they don't show you is in Iran, everybody isn't walking in hijabs full of fear. There's women that don't wear hijabs, women that do wear hijabs. And there's more freedom and more public settings than it is painted in Iran. It's painted like it's such a wicked and oppressive place.
We have multiple nations.
We gotta bomb it. We gotta destroy it. We have to do away with it. Then they'll sit back and say, man, the Cuban government is so corrupt and so wicked. We have to regime change it. We have to put a guy in it who's going to bring democracy there. What they don't tell you is we've been sanctioning Iran for 40 years, 47 years. If you sanction a country and don't allow them to make any money, how can they do the improvements that they need to get it together? It's the same thing with Syria. They said Bashar al-Assad ran the country to the ground. He was a dictator. How can you strengthen your country's economy when your gross domestic product is oil and wheat, and you control that, and you cut the oil and wheat off from your country? The east of Syria was controlled by ISIS and the United States military. And if they're stealing your oil and stealing your grain harvest, how can you feed your people? On top of the fact where you can't do business with the rest of the world to sustain yourself. So when the economics of your country falls, whose fault is it? Is it bad policy making? Or you don't allow a country to make money to feed themselves? But the slander of the city makes the whole region look bad, makes the people look bad, makes the city look bad. So when things fall apart, people are like, oh, whatever, I need to fall. But then when you see this guy come in, and they're bringing, listen, I saw this is the worst thing ever, bro. This guy represented a different group. He wasn't fighting. I think he was a Christian or he was an Alawite, which is a different group of Islam. There was two men in an apartment, and the military burst in there, and they speak their whatever Walla Walla language, and they pretty much give them an ultimatum: either we're going to kill you we're gonna shoot you in this apartment, or you jump off the roof, or jump out the damn a window, and fall to your death. So what they do? They take the risk of jumping out of the damn building. But what was messed up is as they're jumping out the building, they shoot them in. That's the worst thing in the world. But nobody talks about that. They bring this guy from Syria to the United States, shaking hands, giving handshakes, like he's the king of the world. Trump said, I can do business with him. But your guys are killing, they're mass killing. They're going in homes and killing women and children because they chose to be Christian. And they're not your particular set of Islam. This is what's happening in Syria that nobody talks about. But that slander of the city is what set up the eventual collapse of the country. Read verse 5 again.
Come, there be three things that mine heart fears. And for the fourth I was sore afraid. The slander of a city, the gathering together of an unruly multitude.
But listen, the slander of the city is what gathers the unruly multitude together. They go hand in hand. When you start slandering a country, then you get people inside the country fighting. Then you have people from the outside not advocating for you anymore. Think about this. Why haven't the Egyptians? Why haven't the Jordanians? Why hasn't anybody stepped up to defend the people of Gaza? Why? Why is everybody letting them die? You know, Israel said, listen, if you want to save them, Egypt, bring them in. Take them. Well, Egypt said, ain't taking them. That was a death sentence right there. Egypt said, we're not taking them. Because if we take them, you'll never bring them back. So, but you're also saying, I got to kill you and let your whole civilization die. Because we don't want the responsibility. Is that really brotherhood? Is that really Muslim brotherhood? That's hate, and that hate is partially based off of the damn slander that those people have been given for generations. Nobody wants them, and nobody's trying to defend them. But this literally is what this means. Read verse 5 again.
Ecclesiastes 26:5. There be three things that my heart feared, and for the fourth I was sore afraid: the slander of a city, the gathering together of an unruly multitude, and a false accusation.
That false accusation can stay in a person's mind, another person's perception of you forever. It's very hard to live off a negative accusation or a lie about it. Damn near impossible. You can sit back here and end up being not guilty. People still ain't going to trust you. Right or wrong? It doesn't matter. As long as somebody says something about you that ain't true, it sticks. And he says, and the Most High says he hates when a person has to go through that. But this is what propaganda looks like. Everybody's going to look at Maduro as a wicked bad guy. He's sitting here in jail for nothing. Just because he wanted to keep doing deals with China and not the U.S.
It's his country.
He was elected president. They kept saying about how Venezuela is so messed up and people are in poverty. But then there was a guy, his name is Jackson Hinkle. He took a flight down to Venezuela. He went to the grocery stores. It was fresh produce. There were people were surviving. It was a flourishing city. But United States propaganda says Maduro is treating the people like crap. Everybody's suffering in Venezuela. We have to get him out. And that propaganda, that slandering of his name sticks.
It's good acting.
So when Maduro gets taken out, nobody bats an eye. He was a dictator anyway. Let him go. Who cares? You see the power of a slanderous name? A slanderous tongue? The butcher of Baghdad. But that butcher was the guy you bankrolled for 10 years to kill the Iranians. You supplied him with the poison gas that he used to kill Iranians, but you gave him the supplies to do it. And you're going to blame him for using the gas that you gave him? This is horrible. Read on.
All these are worse than death.
He says all of these accusations are worse than death. But propaganda is worse than death. The slandering of a person's name is worse than death. And also, this is why the Most High calls the devil a what? A slanderer. The devil is a slanderer. That is the purest spirit of the devil. It's to slander your name, slander your credibility, slander who you are as a person or a nation. And what nation on earth is the greatest at slandering other people? That lets you know who the spirit of the devil flows through from the top, and it just works its way to the bottom. Does that make sense? That is the spirit of the slander and the impact of the slander. He's called the devil, or that devilish spirit, because that is one of the worst things that can be done to you, is the destroying of your name, the destroying of your credibility. It doesn't get any worse than that. Anyway, let that go. All that go and go to Revelations. Verse 4 through 6.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 4 reads.
Let me get that real quick. I had to type it in for a second. Revelations 13, verse 4 through 6.
Come.
Matter of fact, did I say? Yeah, 4 through 6, yes.
Revelation chapter 13 and verse 4 reads. And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast.
Listen, the beast, or the Edomite kingdom, the elites in particular, worship the devil that gave power to the beast. Reading Luke chapter 4 and other chapters, you can't get power on earth unless you serve the devil, the literal devil. And the people who have power at the top serve Satan. Okay? Read on.
And they worship the beast, saying.
So read it again.
And they worship the beast,
Who worships the beast? It's the rest of the nations. So the beast worships Satan. The rest of the world worships the beast and honors the beast and respects the beast. Respects United States empire. Read on.
Saying, who is like unto the beast?
Because the one thing you don't want to do is be on U.S.'s bad side. Because they will spin a story and paint you out to be the bad guy and get you ousted. Like they did Viktor Orban. This guy was sitting back here fighting for his country. Then they started setting up sanctions even in Hungary and blocking Viktor Orban from sustaining his country. Then the people get outraged because their money's funny. Their money getting hit by these sanctions, and then they oust them. This is how they break people.
Something that's happening in Spain right now.
Yeah, I know. You hear about when Spain. I was said it in class, but the Spanish leader went to China to deal with China, and then the next day his wife gets busted on charges of corruption and theft and bribery. That's extortion, huh? If you go against the damn status quo, you're going to get pulled out.
All trades get blocked. All support gets blocked.
Your financial. This Esau controls everybody. If you can't eat, you can't fight. If you can't get resources, you can't sustain itself. Okay. So they're saying they all worship the beast. The whole world worships the beast. They're like, listen, man, how can you go to war with him? The only person that can go to war with him that has been successful so far is Iran. When Trump was saying, listen, we're going to bomb all of your damn bridges. We're going to bomb all of your infrastructure. Did you see the scenes on TV? They were sitting on bridges like this. Do it. They were sitting in areas of infrastructure and say, bomb it then. We don't care. They were literally in the streets having a good time with one another. And they would hear bombs. And they wouldn't even move. It was like, bah! Oh, no, they're doing other little Iranian songs and jingles, huh? They're singing the little Iranian jingles like, and there's bombs going around it, and they don't give a damn. The only way to do it, you can't give a damn. You can't care if you live or die. And that's where Iran is. They're like, we're done. We'll die tonight then. Where's your power then? The United States doesn't have power in that situation, but the rest of the world is afraid to lose that. And that's the leverage the U.S. has over every other country in the world. Who's able to go to war like the beast? Who's got their military? And who's got the power of the media on their side? They can spin anybody to be the bad guy. That's why everybody bends the knee to the U.S. And even when they're seeing Russia gain traction and gain leverage in the country, they're still not swaying all the way to Russia because they're afraid if they support Russia too much, the U.S. is going to break them. So everybody's kind of waiting to see what happens with the United States and how they deal with Iran and Russia and China. But continue.
Come. And they worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with them?
Exactly. So the rest of the world is afraid about the United States war tactics. Read on.
And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemy.
Why is that the first thing that's being used when explaining the United States' war power? Because the war of the minds and the hearts of people is everything. They can go to war with their lives, with their blasphemies, with how they frame the truth. That's the most powerful weapon they have. Read on.
Come. And power was given unto him to continue 40 months.
42 months is approximately 3.5 years. So 3.5 years, approximately 350 years. That period of time that Esau is in power. The United States is in power. Okay? No. Well, yeah, U.S. is in power. But let's keep going. I want to focus on that.
Verse 6. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against the Most High, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven.
Listen, I've shown videos where everybody's praying and saying Trump's the savior. Did you see online when they had Trump looking like Christ yesterday?
Yes, God.
There was a picture of Trump with a Christ outfit out, with like a white linen and then a red little sash over. He's like this. Oh.
He's healing people.
Yeah, he's healing people. He's healing the guy in bed. And what's so funny is that he took it down off his True Social, and they said, "Listen, man, did you post that with you that image of you looking like Christ?" He said, "I did, but all I was doing was showing me like I was at a Red Cross event."
Yeah.
I was like, "What? You lying your teeth out? Like I'm at a Red Cross event. What are you talking about?
Look like Jesus?
You look like you're you got a manger in your backyard. What are you talking about, bro? You have like the light halo over your head. Send it to me. I'm gonna put it online.
I just sent it to you.
Listen. I have to take a little time and put this on here because it's crazy.
I see you going with him brick walking.
That's a whole other.
That's the AI brick walking.
Listen. That's AI. This is real. This is real. This ain't.
Oh, that's it. That don't be AI. Really? He dressed up like that.
Listen, bro. I'm gonna put it on here.
That's AI.
Listen. He literally sat back here and said he did it. I gotta do it. Slocky, yo. It's gonna slow this up, but I gotta show this picture. This picture is amazing. Amazingly bad, I mean. It takes forever to receive emails. I know. This is crazy. I gotta do this. Because it's like Esau just mocks the notion of serving the Most High, being obedient, doing that which is right. It's a big lie. Everything is all cap. It's all cap, unfortunately. Let me see. If y'all could try to send it directly, it might help. Because this email, here it is. This freaks forever. Well, it went on my phone, but not. It takes even worse on the computer. There it goes. There it goes. This will take forever, man. You see how this takes forever? There it goes. But then it's going to be hard to get it over. I already know. Salakia, yo. No, it's not safe because it's not safe. Okay, now I got to be careful. See, you see what's doing? Did I get rid of it? I just got rid of it. Listen, bro, it's cool. I think I put it in the junk file. I guess it was not meant for the Jews to see. It was junk. I'm gonna give it one more chance and get it out of the junk file. If it's in the junk file, there it is. It is in the junk file. Okay, well, don't screw this up. See, why is it so hard to get over here? You see this?
He was also lying.
I don't know, bro. Listen,
Just
look at it. It says, true social image of Trump depicting himself as Christ. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's on there. It's easy to find.
Trump is Christ. I got his explanation to pop up.
Well, read that real quick. His explanation of why he looked like Christ in the image.
He said, a very beautiful, talented artist.
Everybody's very beautiful. The military is the greatest in the world. Everything's hyped up times 11 now. Is that?
I viewed that as a picture of me being a doctor and fixing. You had the Red Cross right there. You had, medical people surrounding me, he said. And I was like a doctor, as a little fun playing the doctor, making the people better.
That's crazy. That picture don't look nothing like that. That picture doesn't look anything like what he said. And he sat back here and lied through his teeth out. But why? Listen, why is that important? Because it said, and he opened his mouth in blasphemy against the Most High. Because this is the power of Esau's war. Yes, they have weapons. Yes, they can destroy you. Yes, they have the nukes and they have the ICBMs and all of that. But their greatest weapon, what makes them so much different and more potent than every other country before them is their propaganda machine. That's what separates them from everybody else, and that blasphemous mouth. It's the lying and corrupt mouth that convinces people that the U.S. is like Hulk Hogan. Is on the side of righteousness. They're always looking out for the righteous people, and it's the complete false lie. Okay, so did we read verse 6? We finished verse 6.
No.
Read verse 6 again.
Come. Revelation chapter 13, verse 6 reads, and he opened his mouth in blasphemy against the Most High, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven.
If you see that picture, that is a blasphemy of the tabernacle, of the people of the Most High, of Christ. That's the biggest slap in the face you can even think of. Or you have the church headed in Washington praying for Trump because he's going to save the Jews, like Esther saved the Jews. Like, this is crazy stories.
They're saying he's the Messiah.
They're saying
They are saying
they've been saying he's the Messiah.
And they said that he was part of prophecy. His pastor, that same pastor you brought up,
Yeah.
he said that he was part of prophecy of Iran bringing in the war.
I believe it.
He said that too.
I know. It's all lies, and they're injecting themselves into the situation like they're God's chosen people. But the Most High said how they roll is completely anti-God. He said, listen, the people that do this are an abomination to me. The devil is the slanderer, not the savior, not the savior. That's the whole thing. But like I said, man, this is Esau. We just finished Revelation 13, verse 4 through 6. Jump to Jeremiah chapter 51. Now we're going to start ramping up a little bit into some different angles, hopefully. Jeremiah 51 and 7.
Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 7.
Let me get there. Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 7. Yep.
Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Most High's hand,
Mm-hmm.
that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore,
So he says the nations have bought in to United States policy. To be drunk means you're under the what?
Influence.
You're under the influence. You're under the influence of the beast's blasphemous tongue, his lies, and his slander. That has controlled the people more than just the wars and the fighting. And yes, the United States spends more money on their military than anybody else in the world. But what keeps everybody under control is the media. And this is how we know we're getting towards the end, because all these media tactics aren't working as much as they used to. They're not affecting people as greatly as they used to be. It's hard to, back in the day, the idea of a whistleblower or a truther or just a guy speaking truth, you didn't see them as frequently. Now it's starting to really pick up and intensify the amount of people bringing out the truth about how society is really operating. Okay? So read on. So it says, Babylon hath a golden cup in the Lord's hand. Read again.
Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Most High's hand, that made all the earth drunken.
Under the influence. Read on.
The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad.
He says the nations are mad. But to be mad is disordered in intellect. To be mad is disordered. Read it, Karai. Mad in 1828.
Not angry.
No, not angry, not pissed
Because
off.
they think mad, they think angry.
No, it's not
Mad
that.
mean disjointed.
But he says they're disjointed or they're disordered mentally because of the propaganda. They don't see things clearly. And the rest of the world is following these disjointed policies. Read mad again, Karai, 1828.
Mad, 1828, Webster Dictionary. Disordered in intellect.
Disordered in intellect is what the world is operating in based on United States propaganda and policy. Read on.
It says distracted.
And aren't they distracted? Doesn't the media distract you from what's really going on? Don't they sit back here and take you one direction, but they're going a different direction? Listen, when Maduro got arrested, they were bombing these little baby boats out. These fishermen had it. Listen, you got to stop fishing out. Listen, I know you got to stop fishing out. If you're sitting back here and you was in Venezuela when they was bombing fishing boats, they bombed like 2 or 3 fishing boats out.
Eat something else.
They says, yeah, they was drugs there. Was it really drugs or was it fish? Right? Then they're like, what they were saying is, listen, you can't move weight in these little boats, huh? You move weight through these large shipping containers, not these little speed boats. That's not even how you move weight. That's stupid to do it that way. Nobody's seeing that. They just see the boats. We blew up some boats. The bad guys were stopped. Nobody does investigations. Nobody goes and looks at the records to see what really happened. And then they're sitting back here. We sat back here and extracted Maduro. He's out of here. But nobody sees, oh man, how many people knew that 1/3 of China's oil was purchased from Venezuela? And Venezuela was making 80% of their oil went to China. Nobody knows that. If people would know that, it would make sense. But what Esau does, he writes everything in a book. He uses all these think tanks and projects what they're going to do 15, 20 years down the line. Or ahead of time. So anyway, if you read and look into history, they say, yeah, we're going to sit back here and economically strangle China. That's why they're cutting off the oil in Venezuela. They're cutting off the oil from Iran. What people don't know is that the Chinese are setting up this Belt and Road Initiative to where they're trying to run gas pipelines from China to Iran. And what they don't tell you is that they're using this group called the Uyghurs, which is a group that they're funding that's in China, that they're trying to give sovereignty that's in between Iran and China. And they're blowing up the pipelines that they're trying to connect from China to Iran. They don't tell you that. All the little deals that China's trying to do to get easier access to energy, they're blocking them. But they're doing it strategically to keep China under control and to elevate their hegemony. So if we have control, don't forget, if U.S. has control over all of Venezuela oil, China has lost 1/3 of their purchasing power, or their oil that they use for their country to survive. Then, if you're blowing up Karg Island and all these areas where Iranian oil is, now you can't get maximum oil out of Iran. Then your only person you can get oil from is in Russia. But guess what? They're blowing up Russian oil processing plants.
It's crazy.
So Russia might be able to produce 1/3 of what they normally produce normally. So if that's the case, Russia got to take care of themselves and scarcely give out the rest of their oil. They're using Ukrainians to sit back and bomb Russian infrastructure, all their oil plants. What are they doing this for? To cripple Russia and to decapitate China. The goal from doing the double embargo is to get China to do what? Oh, before we go there, why do you think they got to take over Greenland? They take Greenland over to get the oil and to cut off their shipping, because Russia sends their oil tankers through Greenland to get to the Pacific. And China uses their tankers to get oil from China to get back to their home country. So if you blockade off Greenland, China can't get oil through Greenland. So if you control Greenland, you control Venezuela, you double blockade Iran, now China has to buy oil from one place, and that's the United States. This is the game plan. It's all about strangling Iran, destroying Iran, strangling China, and breaking the bond between Russia and China. That's the end game if you take a step back. But the funny thing is, the United States is creating a scenario where the whole world goes to them for energy, but they don't have the capability to put out as much energy as the world needs. So what are you doing? Even if you win and you get everybody to come to you, the majority of the world is going to starve because you can't produce enough oil and natural gas to support Europe, China, and the rest of the world, and the Southeast and Thailand and all these countries. You don't have enough to do that. So you're strangling the country from their ability to survive. Which is why Revelation 17 says the 10 horns are going to hate the whore. And the whole world is going to hate the whore and bomb the United States. It's going to be the lake of eternal fire. Because the United States is doing all these moves to strangle the world to come back to them. So instead of using the Saudis to be the global energy hub that is controlled by the United States, they're goading and they're baiting Iran to blow up all the Saudi Arabian oil centers. So there's no more oil there. Because if Iran destroys all of the Saudi pipelines and the UAE pipelines and the Bahrain and Qatar pipelines, then guess what? You don't even need a Strait of Hormuz anymore. There's no need for the strait because there's no oil going through there. And if you take out all the oil in Saudi Arabia, now you got to go to the U.S. Those are wicked devices. Is that not a wicked device? I'm going to destroy. Listen, we were allies with the Saudis until we're not. We're really going to sit back here and allow Iran, because if they keep bombing Iranian infrastructure, what did Iran say? We're going to destroy Saudi's desalination plants. We're going to destroy all the oil plants. You're not going to be able to make oil anymore in this region. They're saying that, and the U.S. is like, do it. We'll call your bluff. We actually are okay if that happens. That way the United States can maintain the petrodollar control because you got to buy it from them. So they were trying to keep the petrodollar under control by having Saudi Arabia locked down. But if they can't control Saudi Arabia, we'll blow the whole thing up. And we'll make sure nobody gets Saudi Arabian oil. Now you got to come to us. That's the biggest gangster checkmate around. This is why I have Venezuela oil. I have Mexico oil. I have Canada oil. I have U.S. oil. Why do you think Trump kept saying we need to take over Canada? Canada got oil reserves. Mexico has oil reserves. Greenland has oil reserves. If I take the whole Western Hemisphere and control all the oil, and we allow Saudi to get destroyed, and we're going to destroy Iran, you got to go to us for oil. And we keep blowing up Russian oil refineries, you got to come to us anyway. You see the end game? And this is why the world's going to say, forget these guys. This is too much. This is how it will get. This is how it will be to the end game. So, read Jeremiah 51:7 again.
Jeremiah 51 verse 7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Most High's hand that made all the earth drunken.
Yep, Babylon's propaganda, their smear techniques, their policies, their idea of democracy, which really isn't, is global empire, has been force-fed on the entire world, and they have sat back here and they worship the beast like we read in Revelation 13. Read on.
The nations have drunken of her wine.
They have worshipped Babylon or worshipped the beast. Read on.
Therefore, the nations are mad.
And what does mad mean, Kariah, in 1828?
Mad. Disordered in intellect, distracted, or furious.
They're distracted. They're distracted, and they're drunk, and they're under the influence, and they're disordered, and they're not thinking clearly. Because whenever they sit back here and bring democracy in their country, you're really giving up your country's sovereignty. The idea of bringing democracy in your country is actually the end of your nation's stability and the beginning of economic slavery. And everybody's drunk on the idea of getting protected and taken care of by the United States. And they always get used up at the end and spit out. Let that go and go to Habakkuk chapter 2. Habakkuk 2, verse 3 down. Once again, we're taking our time. It's important to sit back here and paint this picture as slowly as possible and clearly as possible. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3 through 10.
Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision is yet more, for the vision is yet for an appointed
The
time.
vision at the end. This vision is supposed to be at an appointed time. Read on.
But at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry,
So he says, at the end it shall speak and not lie. What does that mean? What it means is in the beginning of the prophecy of this nation getting into power, it's not going to make sense. And people aren't going to understand what's really happening. The thought's going to be that this prophecy ain't real, but at the end, everybody's going to understand why this prophecy is written the way it is. Read on.
but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for
It's
it.
going to take a little time for the United States, so-called, to be revealed as this negative empire. Let it get there, but when it gets there, it's not going to take very long to see it. Read on.
Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in
We
him.
keep reading it, like we read in Proverbs chapter 6. Listen, the Most High hates people that have policies like he has. He hates nations of people that slander and lie and cheat and create ideas to sit back and destroy people. And he said, listen, his soul is not upright in him. How do you sit back here and kill 500,000 children and just bomb them and blow them? How do you starve an entire group, a nation of people in Palestine? How do you do that? Unless your soul is not upright in you. How do you sit back? These people are still starving. I don't know if you saw in Gaza, when government aid and when food trucks, they finally let food trucks come in. I saw videos of this. They will bring the food trucks and leave the food out there. And when the people want to get food, they just they mow them down. They were shooting the people from rooftops that went to get the food. So they would have to sit back and wait till darkness to go rush and get the food. They were getting killed to go when they went to go get the food. These were the Israelis. And the scripture says the soul that's in him is not upright. It's not right. How can you sit back here and go to sleep and do that to these people and think you're in the right? It's impossible. You have to have no soul to do this to human beings who have no food and no water. Read on.
But the just shall live by his faith.
The just are going to live by their faith in the Most High. Read on.
Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine.
He transgresses by his policies and the notion that if you take this wine, everything will be okay. If you take this policy, if you accept this democracy, if you accept all the deals and the rules that come with this democracy, you'll be okay. And the nations, the entire world has bought into these policies and they have failed generation after generation after taking these bad deals, these bad economic deals, these bad bank deals, these bad bank loans. Read on.
He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home.
Listen, Esau never just stays in America. He's got to go everywhere in the world, pushing his policy, pushing his cups, pushing his wine, pushing his economy, sitting back here bringing his privatization all throughout the world. You know that Shell is in Saudi Arabia? You know the Saudis don't even have their own oil production systems. Shell and Exxon, they're in Saudi Arabia. Shell and Exxon is in Venezuela.
They never had the technology anyway. It was America.
Well, that's the deal. The deal. This is the American policy. Listen, man. I'm talking to the head guy. Whatever prince there is right here, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make you rich. Don't worry about that. We'll take care of you. But in order to make you rich, we're going to bring our company and do business into your region. That's what we're going to do. We're going to sit back and bring all of our Shell equipment here, and you're going to pay for it. Okay? You're going to pay for it, and all you have to do, we'll give you a 50-year loan. We sit back here and we bring all our infrastructure. You pay for the infrastructure, and we'll make you rich. And then the country can pay the bill. But you got to pay the country. You got to pay the debt and the loan in American dollars. So if the American dollar is 7-1, then how are you able to pay that debt? So you got the damn peso 7 or 13-1. How are you going to pay $50 million back? So then what happens when you start reneging on your bank loan? Okay, listen, man, no worries. You can't pay the debt. This is what you got to do, though. We're going to bring a military base in. Let us put our military base in, and then we'll sit back and give you a new loan. Oh, listen, and by the way, with this second loan that's going to come in, you can only export this particular cash crop. You have to buy our rice, our fruit, our vegetables, and our dairy. You can't make your own. So you can't make your own cash crops, your rice. You can't make your own anything. You have to export that and buy out. But if you do that, you can keep paying your loans at a low interest rate. This is how they break countries. This is how all countries are drunk with this influence. It's economic slavery. And the only person that gets something out the deal is the United States corporations and the leader that gets rich. The people suffer. And then all of a sudden, they'll oust that guy. The people that get mad at him, oust him, bring a new guy in, he'll take the next deal. And this is how they pimp the whole world. This is the game. So, he says, Esau never sits back here and stays at home because he's always looking for the next natural resource to steal. The next country to put in economic slavery. Read on.
Who enlarges his desire as hell.
He has to keep putting other countries under these hellish conditions. This is why he's not going to stop until Iran succumbs and becomes democratic. He's not going to stop until China becomes democratic. He's not going to stop because he's calling Putin a dictator, calling Xi Jinping a dictator. I mean, we're going to call you a dictator because that's what they're saying. That's what Biden said. He said Xi Jinping is a dictator. What? But he's taking care of his people. Well, I'm going to call you a dictator because I want to break you. I want to break you economically. And we want to control China. We want to control Russia. We want to control all these countries. So they can't just stay at the United States. They got to go and get everybody else. Read on. Now, they didn't start that way because the United States initially had this Monroe Doctrine. And their thought was, we're just going to take over Central and South America. We're just going to dominate them. We won't dominate nobody else. We're just going to subjugate Central and South America, and Europe can have and do what they got to do. Then they expanded from that notion and started taking over the entire world after World War II. Read on.
Who enlarges his desire as hell, and is his death.
Because wherever they go, they profit, and the people die. The people suffer. The people have less. Read on.
And cannot be satisfied.
He can take over empire after empire after empire. Then what they do? Now we have to create the lie or push the lie that oil is a fossil fuel. That was said in the early 1900s. You know what that means? When they say oil is a fossil fuel, what does that mean? It's limited. But really, oil always replenishes. But if I say oil is a fossil fuel, I can keep the price high. And keep making max dollars. But oil is like water. There's a plenty of supply of it in all these countries. So what do when you corner the market on oil? Now we got to talk about this green energy situation. Now we use green energy as another way to do what? Make more money. Now we got to steal different natural resources. We have all the oil. Now we got to take all the cobalt. Now we have to take all of the lithium. Now we got to take all these other minerals that are finite. Now it's another game on, going back into all the countries you've already taken over to dominate on another level. He's never satisfied because that greed is always pushing more and more and more. Yes, sir.
It says that The U.S. maintains 272 active bilateral diplomatic posts.
Say that again.
Yeah, the U.S. maintains 272 active bilateral diplomatic posts. Like
Gun.
embassies.
Yeah. Listen, they have their hand everywhere, controlling everything they possibly can. And they're not going to stop until the whole world is under their suggestion. This is the mind of the United States hegemonic influence. Read on.
You cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people.
The idea is based upon we're heaping these nations and people under democratic umbrellas, but it's really heaping nations and people into economic slavery and natural resource slavery. That's what it is. That's what it's always been. Whether it was in the 50s, robbing the Cuban government of all their sugar cane and making Cuba. You know what they want to make Cuba back again? Back to Godfather 2. This is a bunch of hotels and prostitution. That's what they want to. They want to make it another Vegas, because that's what it was before Castro took it over. They're going to exploit the people, exploit the poor people. When the people have nothing, no money, and no way to survive, women get prostituted. The young boys get prostituted. Everybody gets used. You go to Central America, you see it all the damn time. This is the benefits of an economic government or a democratic government. It's extremely poor with a few scarce rich people. That's what Mexico is. And that's under the United States umbrella. That's what the United States brings to your country. Extreme poverty. When they took down Omar Gaddafi, everybody had education. It was free. They had homes. Now it's slavery is instituted back in Libya again.
Yeah,
Literal human trafficking and warlords run Libya.
and broken.
That's democracy. That's democracy in a nutshell. And he brings hell and he heaps nations and people and impoverished states to him. Read on.
Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his?
You keep hearing woes and destruction and abomination to people that keep acquiring and taking and increasing and not giving back. And the Most High is just saying that sin and wickedness and that stench is starting to rise up. And the Most High is like, in a second, in an instant, it's going to go from Esau taking and taking and taking to a fall. A fall is coming soon. Read on.
How long? And to him that layeth himself with thick clay.
How long is the United States going to continue to take and steal and rob, and all their tin horn vassals going to keep robbing and stealing before the Most High reckons them? Read on.
Verse 7. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite
He
thee?
says, suddenly a nation is going to rise up and bite you. Suddenly a nation is going to rise up and retaliate. And we're at this time now. What nation has put the United States on their heels as much as Iran has? Listen, has the United States folded? Not a little bit. Well, Iran got them on their heels a little bit. They ain't got punched in the mouth like this in a long damn time.
And the people are saying that this is no longer 1991.
I know.
They said that America has this arrogance that they can walk to the Middle East like it's 91.
I know. And
But
it's not.
They said the U.S. is not prepared for modern warfare, which we don't know. But as far as their old tactics, their Cold War era tactics, and their bullying tactics.
Well, it's not
no
Cold
longer
War
effective.
anymore. The Operation Iraqi Freedom, all that crap. They won decisively.
It's all the big ships.
But the big ships and also just bombing a country to death. Listen, Iran saw it, and their allies saw it, and all the major military strategic stuff is under what? Is underground. Now that you can't sit back and just bomb and do shock and awe campaigns and defeat the enemy. All the weapons is underground, under rocks. You can bomb all you want. It's not changing anything. So that's the modern warfare. The modern warfare is you can't just bomb countries and smile and think you won. So, with that being the case, the Most High is like, how long is this going to last? He says, right now, suddenly, they're going to get bitten. Read on.
And awake that shall vex thee.
There's going to be countries that start to vex you, make your life a lot more uncomfortable. And it's happening with Iran, and it's going to start spreading. Russia's vexing. They can't just bully them and push them around like they've done other countries before. Read on.
And thou shalt be for booties unto them.
He says, the United States is about to be the supply for somebody else to take advantage of them. United States is going to be spoiled soon.
And the
shift is coming.
The kiss of that was Afghanistan when all that military equipment got left, and everybody got wealthy and rich off all the military supplies that was left over.
Because it was cheaper to keep it than bring it all the way back.
Yeah. So that's just an example, a modern example of that sentiment starting to happen, that momentum starting to happen.
And all these military planes and stuff is getting bombed and blown up by the Iranians in these Saudi ports. All these U.S. bases in Iraq and in Saudi Arabia and in Qatar and Bahrain, they're all getting blown up. And their equipment's getting blown up. This is a shift. But keep going.
Verse 8. Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee.
He's telling you the United States policy. The rest of the world is going to end up spoiling the United States. It's a matter of time. If the United States blocks off, does a double blockade and strangles the world and forces everybody to go to get U.S. oil, there's not enough U.S. oil to supply the entire world. That's the greediest move you can make. The world's going to get sick and tired of having to bow down to this one country. You already got two of the horns is fighting back. Two of the European horns, Spain and Italy, are already not playing ball with the United States. It's a matter of time that the rest of the horns are going to turn on them and the rest of the world is going to turn on them. Because of all of the extortion. The United States they're so great at projecting. They're saying Iran is extorting the world. The United States extorts the world. It's what they do. Read on.
Because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein.
All of the United States' sins and all these countries are going to blow back on them. It's a matter of time. Read on.
Verse 9. Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house.
We just talked about how the United States is coveting the world's oil and trying to find a way to have the U.S. and the entire Western Hemisphere dominate and maintain their petrodollar control. Remember, for the last few years, we talked about how Russia and China is fighting over this petrodollar, and the petrodollar is about to fall. The U.S. is like, okay, the way we can keep the petrodollar is destroy all of the Saudi Arabian oil. That way, we'll keep the petrodollar to ourselves. But he's saying what? Woe to the nation that covets an evil covetous to his house. Read on.
That he may set his nest on high.
All this policy is used so that they can maintain hegemony. That's to keep your nest on high. Read on.
That he may be delivered from the power of evil.
Listen, what's happening is the United States is trying to set up policies so that they don't have to feel loss. They don't have to feel the nations turning on them. So in order to preempt Russia and China from gaining leverage over them, we have to destroy the rest of the world, destroy everybody else's oil supply so we don't feel the evil. This is what's happening literally right now. Is there any confusion so far? I know it's dense and we're kind of drilling the point a lot, but there's a lot of verses in different chapters saying the same thing over and over again. Moses said he speaks once, yea, twice, but what? We don't perceive. He keeps slapping us in the face with the information. And we have to start listening that we're really close to the end. And we have to start seeing how many times the Most High keeps repeating these concepts. Okay, read on verse 10.
Verse 10. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people.
How is the United States not cutting off many people by controlling the world's oil supply or attempting to control the world's oil supply? That's exactly what he's doing. By doing a double damn, what do they call it? Not an embargo, but a double, I just said it 1,000 times, with Iran. The Strait of Hormuz, double blockade. You're sitting back here cutting off everybody's access to the oil that everybody needs to fund their government and to sustain their people. You're doing this to protect yourself from evil, to protect yourself from anybody that can be a threat to them. They do this so China can bend the knee and buy oil from them. They do this so that Europe can bend the knee and buy oil to them. If this is not what's happening, I don't know what it is. He says, this is the moment where the Most High says, now I got you. Now I'm going to break you. Now I'm going to destroy you. Are we done with verse 10?
And has sinned against thy soul.
How does a person sin against your own spirit? By making moves and making decisions that hurt and destroy so many other people. When you set up policies to assure world dominance and to hell with the Saudi Arabian people, when these desalination, think about this. Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Qatar are about to hit their 120s, 130 degree temperature. If Iran gets bombed, and they keep getting bombed in their infrastructure by the United States, Iran said we're going to blow up their desalination plants and their oil fields. How are the people in Saudi Arabia going to drink water? There's not going to be any water in the country. Do you think the United States policymakers gives a damn about the need for the Saudi people to have clean water? Do you think that's even crossed their mind? How about the leaders of Saudi Arabia are saying the U.S. got to go on the ground and fight the Iranians? So that means the Saudi Arabians don't even give a damn about their own people. The princes, I mean. You think the princes are kicking it in Saudi Arabia right now?
They got water.
No, the princes are in Europe right now, smiling at. No. They left the region. You think the Saudis are in Saudi Arabia now? They are smiling in Zurich. They're in Switzerland right now. Skiing with snow bunnies at. That's what they're doing at. That's what they're doing at. It's the truth. They're smiling with some Caucasians in Switzerland at. You telling me they're not? You think they're in the belly of the beast? Taking the risk of having all their water taken out?
Along with the top Jews.
They're not worried about that. That's the point. So he's saying is you're sinning against your soul when you make decisions that negatively affect so many people. So when Saudi Arabia gets blown up, no water, no oil fields, as long as Iran gets destroyed, we'll rebuild. But the United States, do you think we'll let them rebuild? If the United States is the top dog and everybody goes in for oil? No. But Mosai is like saying, you know what, man? This is going to be that last indictment that breaks you. Let all that go. Go to Daniel chapter 2 and verse 40 to 43.
Daniel chapter 2 and verse 40.
Now this, obviously, Daniel chapter 2 is the prophecy or the scriptures that deal with all the empires after Israel fell. It was the head of gold, which was Babylon, right? Then it was the body of silver, which was the Persian Median Empire. Then we got to the legs of brass, which was the Greek Empire. Then we get to the foot, or the lower half of all the empires on earth. Okay? So let's read Daniel chapter 2 and verse 40.
Daniel chapter 2 and verse 40. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as
The
iron.
fourth kingdom is talking about the Roman Empire all the way to the latter end, which is America. The latter end of the Roman Empire, which is America. This is what the fourth beast is, or the fourth empire. Read on.
For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise.
The fourth kingdom being iron is talking about the Roman Empire. Their military broke and subdued the entire known world. All roads led to what? But it was that iron, powerful military. To your point, Moselle, they had the military, but they didn't have the finesse. They didn't have the propaganda. They didn't have the lies. It was just, we're whipping up on you. And, we're going to sit back here, pay us our debts, pay us what we owe, what you owe, we'll let you live. So their military might was above everybody else, the Roman Empire. Read verse 41.
Verse 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes.
Now listen, the feet and the toes is talking about the what? If you're talking about the leg, right? The leg is talking about the iron. The leg is the iron. The leg is from the knee down to the ankles. That's the Roman Empire. But when we're getting to the feet and the toes, that's the latter end of the Roman Empire. And the latter end of the Roman Empire is the end of the Edomite civilization, which is where we're at now with the United States. Read on. Read it from the top, verse 41.
Verse 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron.
So he says, by the time we get to the end of the empire, the end of the Edomite Empire, the end of the Caucasian Empire, the toes and the feet were partial iron and partial clay. The partial iron still is the military might and power of the United States Army, but the clay is the weakening of the empire. Because once we got to 1945, to present day, the United States had to continue to do deals, had to continue to set up policy with the nations, and end up weakening the United States infrastructure. What made the United States so powerful in the 40s? When we were sitting back here and beating the Nazis, and we sat back here and went into WW2 and nobody could stop us. We was kicking tail and naming names. What made us so powerful?
Their industrial presence.
Their military industrial complex. And everything was made in what? Everything was made in America. When nations are in power, it was all export and very little import. And that's how you keep your nation potent. You're self-sustained and you're not at the mercy of foreign powers. We became miry clay because we became weak. In order to sit back here and establish global hegemony, you had to do deals with other countries. At the time, who was our arch enemy in the 40s? Or right after the end of World War II, what war began? The Cold War. So we were at war, silent war, a Cold War with Russia. But who was Russia's number one ally at the time? It was China. China was their number one ally. So what ended up happening is there were a lot of different conflicts between pro-Russian countries and pro-United States countries. But we really started breaking down when we started outsourcing our work to China. Why did we outsource our work to China and to India and to all these foreign countries? Because we had to do deals with them to keep them working with us instead of working with the Reds, with Russia, with the Soviet Union. So the miry clay is all the compromising deals we set up to work with the nations. And the more we sat back here and spread our economic power, our military secrets, China was sitting back here getting military secrets, industrial secrets,
Especially from the Clintons. Especially from the Clintons.
Especially from
Especially from the Clintons.
Huh.
They were selling those secrets.
They were selling secrets.
It was good money.
And this is the whole point. We kept weakening ourselves in the sight of the nations.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing that, we became miry clay. And the United States empire became weaker and weaker and weaker. Now, remember in the 40s and 50s, Russia and the United States were the only ones that had the nuclear bomb. Now we got Kim Jong-un got it. We got China got it. India has it. Pakistan got it. Now that levels the playing field. Why do you think Iran is fighting for one now? Because that's the only thing the white man respects is the nuclear bomb. So all these countries have nuclear weapons, nuclear technology. We're outsourcing all of our work. We have to import the specialized skill that China has and Taiwan has. We no longer have intellectual superiority, knowledge superiority, industrial superiority. Listen, we can't speed up the production of United States weaponry because all of the natural minerals come from China. And China's not selling them right now.
And their hands are on it in Africa.
And that's my point. So what's happening is the U.S. got to go to China to get the weapons that they want to use to take out China.
Now,
That doesn't make sense. And that's why the United States is militarily, or as a nation, they're like miry clay, mixed with that strong iron capability to wipe you off the map too. And he's explaining that just the power, we're not as potent as we used to be.
Yeah, it's changed.
At the Edomite or the so-called white man apex was the Roman Empire, and over time their military prestige and power has diminished to what it is now. But it's because of all of the outsourcing to the nations, to the children of men, has weakened them. So read that verse in Daniel's 2 again.
Daniel chapter 2 and verse 41.
Yes.
And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided.
The kingdom shall be divided or weakened. Now you have to outsource your power. Now you have to outsource your resources. Now the economic stability is no longer there. And even the people are weak. Do you think this generation is ready to go and deal in these war-torn countries? This nation is so disconnected from hard times and difficulties. Just because you give a person an M16 doesn't mean they're going to sit back here and do it right. But keep going.
So, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron.
Listen, the United States military is still the military, and they have all these high-end, expensive weapons that do damage. Read on.
For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay.
It's military strength, but the military industrial weakness. They're strong militarily, but damn it, it takes 2 years to make some new weapons. They will kick your tail, but nothing's built in the U.S. anymore. Everything is outsourced. But you had to do it to get the allies to work on you to neutralize Russia. To break Russia, you had to deal with China.
You had to stab yourself.
That's my point. In order to sit back here and break, that's my point. That's war. So you had to weaken yourself and give away your power to break down another power. That is the explanation of the iron and miry clay. Does that make sense? Are there any questions about that so far? Read on.
And as the toes of the feet were part of iron.
So listen, verse 41 was talking about the feet. We're getting to the toes. This is the latter end of this statue. This is the latter end of these empires. Read on.
Says, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken.
That's the point. Our economy isn't strong. Our industrial complex isn't strong. We have all this oil in this country, and we don't have the components to actually drill the oil out. We have all this Venezuela oil that's in this dark, deep, heavy crude, and there's only one processing plant in the United States in Corpus Christi that can take all this oil from Venezuela and refine it. Where are all the oil refineries? This place needs more oil refineries. How come there's no oil refineries?
We wanted the industrial.
Because we're partly broken. Everybody wants to sit back and be an influencer online versus touch this smoke at this oil factory and go and work on trucks and work on cars. Nobody wants to do that kind of work anymore. No. You ever tell the people, I'm not doing that work. It's almost people don't even respect you if you work at a vehicle plant. If you work, I'm at the oil fields. You one of those guys? You one of those dirty oil monkeys? You're an oil monkey? Like that's an honest day's work.
I was talking to a customer and he was telling me how he has an electric car, and an electric car, you don't have to change the oil on it. You don't have to do nothing manually to fix it. And it's ran all by electric.
But I'm gonna say this: all that's fine and dandy until that battery blows up in your car.
Until it's cold outside.
Or you got to sit back here and blow and spend like $10,000-$15,000 to replace the battery. Your batteries cost like $10,000-$15,000.
Yeah.
And then they talk about how it's saving the planet, but they can't break down the components of it.
Yeah. It's toxic.
It's toxic. You can't break it down. I thought it was about saving the planet. You're not saving the planet. So the system is still broken. And then to keep the prices down, you got to go to damn India to get it done, get it built. You can't build it here because the United States made the cost of doing business in this country too expensive. It's too expensive to even run a business. There's all these taxes you got to pay, all of these loopholes you got to go through. So you can't even build them. You can't even buy America because you can't build America. So once again, he's saying the last days of the country is when America can't even. There's not enough business. There's not enough work for people to work in this place. Everything is outsourced. But they have a strong military. If that's not America, I don't know what it is. It's the same thing in Europe. They outsource all their work. They broke Germany by taking all the industry out of there, and now they can't feed themselves. Read on.
And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay,
and as you see this American economy falling apart, read on.
They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men.
This is what they're saying. Esau is mingling themselves and doing business with the nations. The seed of men is the nations. And that's how they've weakened and they've become like clay. Because they're doing business with the nations. And they're giving up their power and dispersing their power to sustain and overcome Russia. Does that make sense? When they mingled themselves with the seed of men, they're doing business with them. They're making partnership. This is why China owns a major part of the farmland in the United States. You never give up your farmland. Why would you sell your farmland to your enemy, to your opponent? And China has all this land in the Midwest, and it is buying and selling and farming and feeding their people. And we just sold it to them. Or the Japanese is buying major parts of property in LA and New York. Why would you give your real estate to all these foreign investors? Because you're money hungry. Do you see China letting the United States buy all their major property? Hell no. We're the only idiots that do that. And that's why we're the nation with iron and miry clay. Read on.
And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another.
They're doing deals with these nations, but their alliances are very loosely covered. There's no real bonds between the nations and Esau. There's bitterness and there's tension amongst all of these partnerships. So the United States can sit back here and let China sit back and buy this farmland, but we're really trying to destroy you and break you and make you come to us economically. So these affiliations are very loosely connected. This is why Prime Minister Modi of India, he's doing deals with the United States and doing deals with Russia. Xi Jinping is doing deals with the United States and with Russia. They're playing both sides of the fence, and these relationships aren't as strong as it appears to be. So everybody's fighting for their own national sovereignty and advantage, while weakening the United States economically. That's all of verse 43, right? Continue.
They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay.
The United States military is strong, but their other business policies is not. And the nations are working with the United States, but they're not all the way in bed with them. And he says that's the toes. We get to the toes of the foot. We get to the last end of the United States. The allegiances aren't the same. The loyalties aren't the same. So these children of men are looking for a better deal, and they're hedging their bets. And that's how you know we're really getting close to the end, because these allegiances are thinly held together. Are there any questions? There's more to it, but we just got to the first phase. All right? Any questions? With that, we're going to shut down class. The water for tuning in. We'll keep this thing going next Monday. The water shalom.